Hello, rock and rollers. What is up, everybody? Holy cow. Here we are again on another Tuesday edition of Rocket Live, and I am pumped to have my awesome guest with me today, Amanda Sharp. Yes.
Hello.
To have you on. I've had this on my calendar. I've been so excited to get you on. This is so great. I'm so happy that you could be here. Thanks for joining us today.
I'm so excited. And that music to pump you up during the wait is yes, I was just bouncing here. I'm so ready for this.
Nice.
I've been counting down the weeks, and here we are.
Yes, and here we are. It's finally happening. It's all coming together. I love it.
Yes. It's so great to be here. Thank you for that opportunity, Chris.
Absolutely. I'm very happy to have you here. So I want to welcome everybody right now who is watching this live. Of course, a big welcome to everybody who will be watching the replay later on. And of course, those who will be listening to the audio version when this comes out in a few weeks. Want to thank everybody for all their continued support. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe wherever you are watching or listening to this, as it not only helps the show grow, but it also helps the guests that I have on to continue to get their stories out there as they talk about who they are, what they do, and why they are amazing rock stars in their own right. So I want to thank everybody right now who's watching. If you have any questions or comments as we go, feel free to post them in the chat and we will get to them. We'll bring them up on screen or answer any questions as they go along. So with that, let's get into it. Amanda Sharp, my new friend. It's amazing. So just to put this in context for everybody. So Amanda is somebody I met only 3 short months ago, basically, on the Clubhouse, as the kids are calling it. But we met on Clubhouse, and it's been for me, as I've been saying the last few weeks, Clubhouse for me has been really great because it's just given me access to meeting so many new and amazingly awesome people. And we had Stacy Sherman on last week, and we've had Pedro Maciel on, who's also, was somebody I met on Clubhouse, and your peoples. Yes. And I know I've got Tanner coming up. We had Real on a few weeks ago, and it's just been really wonderful having so many different Clubhouse people on, and that's what I've really loved about being on the platform, is being able to meet new people, make new connections, make new relationships, and then have people come on the show and they can talk about what they're up to. So you are someone that I had such an instant connection with on Clubhouse, because you've been involved in the one room, the podcasting room, the Real Talk podcasting room, but more specifically the morning chat room. And I remember I met Pedro on Clubhouse when he was just starting up, hey, I just created this room, and I was in there talking to him. And then before I knew it, everybody had kind of congealed together in an orbit and began doing rooms together, talking about podcasting, which I know, and there's so much I want to get to talking with you, because you're doing a lot, you're involved in a lot of things. I know podcasting is a big part of your life. So let's just start a little bit with, I want to hear the story about how you got actually started in Clubhouse and connected with these guys, because that's the other thing, is I think, just to put things in context, Amanda, I'm in New Jersey. Amanda, you're in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Pedro's in Texas, and I think Tanner is in Maine or
Portland. Yep.
And Roman is he in Texas?
No, he's, I think, in the Jersey area with you.
Oh, right. That's right. So it's this is a thing, we all, when you hear everybody talking, it's you would think we're all right next door, but we're all spread out. So I would love to hear your version of how you got in with the Real Talk podcasting gang, and how you've been hosting basically every single morning, which, God bless you. You get up every morning from 6:30 to 9 a.m. Eastern time, and you run this room. You moderate this morning podcasting chat room. So talk a little bit about that.
It's funny, because I really wish I had a better memory of how I got to that seat at the table with Pedro and the guys. I mean, because I begged for an invitation to Clubhouse. I found this lady who gave me her invite on Facebook, and that opened the door to all of this. So I have to give a shout out to her, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to be there. But
there you go.
So I got nominated by her, thankfully. didn't know her. She's from like California or whatever, just in the real estate community as well. So that got my foot in the door there. And we have a podcast. So I kind of, one of the very first rooms I landed in was their podcasting room. I'm an early riser, and there it was. And honestly, I don't know how it happened that I ended up like at that seat at the table as a moderator.
Right.
I think honestly, it might have been out of desperation. Like Pedro was busy, Roman was busy, Tanner was busy, and I was there. I was the person to the right. And I did it, and I loved it, and I love people, love communicating with them. And that community is the sweetest. Is the Podcasting Morning Chat community not the best? I know you have your community too, but it's just unlike any other on Clubhouse. It's so precious. And to honestly sit beside, Pedro, Roman, and Tanner as a moderator in that room just is so special and such a opportunity.
I will tell you this. So when I first got onto the app in December, I think like everybody else, it was overwhelming, and you start like meeting so many people, and you're going into all these rooms, and you're even doing a lot of partnerships and co-hosting and co-modding and creating your rooms. Like it's like an explosion of like meeting people and creating content and being involved. But then like things begin to settle, and you start to find like the groups that sort of stick, and even the people you initially were like hanging out with, you kind of like everybody starts to find their own way, which is cool. I will say that as the dust has settled, there is very few like regular rooms I go into now, but like the morning chat room, the morning chat is the one that I go into as much as I can when I can, because it is great. It's become like my like, how like you get into the car and you turn on your favorite station, that's what it's become for me. It's like my favorite station.
I just told Pedro, I sent him a voice message on Instagram this morning. I said, you know what? I could actually debate somebody that our Podcasting Morning Chat room is better entertainment and a resource than any morning talk show. I could debate that. That's how passionate I feel about that stance.
I think you would have a really good, solid foundation for a good debate there, because the cast of characters too that come into that room every morning and contribute, and they tell stories, and some people get very vulnerable and open themselves up to really complete strangers, which is, I always find amazing that people have got that courage to really let it all fly and spill whatever it is that they're working on or what they're doing, but everybody's got sort of the same like goal, and there's a little bit of this unspoken like vibe in the room of like everybody's just cool with each other, like there's no drama,
not at all.
Nobody comes in trying to be like a show off or a know-it-all. Like everybody just wants to contribute and help, and a lot of times there's like a lot of funny, like there's laughing going on. It's not this like serious like tech like geek thing, but sometimes it goes that way, but it's okay, because it's just I love it's like a flavor and a little bit for everybody who's involved. So but I love that you're involved in it, because when you hear Pedro, Tanner, and Roman and some of the other people that come into the room that are very like I mean, I learned so much because I'm not like a professional podcaster in that sense. Like, they've been doing it, like Tanner's, his studio and all that. And I love that you're in this room as like the glue that brings it all together.
Oh, that's so sweet. I don't know if that's true, but that's sweet of you to say.
But it is, it's kind of like, as things go around, it comes back. But I think you do a really good job. And I do want to ask you this, because I want to know if this is something that you have experience in, or it's something you've developed, which is your moderation skills. Now, for people that are, haven't had experience with Clubhouse yet, like basically how it goes, there's a lot of different ways you could run rooms in Clubhouse. But as you do a larger room where you have an audience, in the room that I'm talking about, the morning chat room, and we get up to like, I've seen like 30 to 60, sometimes even 80 people in a room. So the room does fill up. It has ebbs and flows. And when you have people coming up on the virtual stage and they're talking and people asking questions, like you really need somebody to wrangle all that in, to be that moderator. And I think you do a really good job with it. And so I want to ask, like, do you have a background in moderation or anything like that? Is that something you have experience with, or is this something that you've simply now picked up being in Clubhouse or on Clubhouse?
So I can say I finally found my place in this world to speak and use my skill and gift of gab, because, you know, back in school, in elementary school, Amanda talked too much. Well, here we are, 2021 in the club, and I'm allowed to do that. And it's opened the doors to a lot of fun things. And I knew I was a talker. I knew I was skilled at speaking. But honestly, Chris, what's hilarious is I thought my voice was terrible. When I hear my own voice, I'm like, oh my God, just like nails on a chalkboard.
Wow. Because I was going to ask, I have another follow-up question I was going to ask that actually relates to your voice. But did you ever take public speaking as a background, anything like that, or any kind of training or formal training? Okay.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Right. Just honestly, I do think I was gifted with the gift of gab, like I said. But with that being said, I never really had the opportunity to see this skill come to life outside of Clubhouse, if I'm being honest.
Right. So I find that very interesting then, because like when I hear you, like I listen and I hear a lot of, you know, what's going on and what you're doing. And to me, you sound like somebody who's got experience in moderation and public speaking and interviewing, running a room, things like that, because I feel like you're so natural with it. Like that's how it sounds and that's how it comes across. So that's why I ask, because I know there are some people that on Clubhouse, and you know they're public speakers or you know, and they go on a lot. They do that, like a lot of speaking or moderation, and you know it's a very hired skill that they've been doing. And that's why I ask, because it feels like that's a skill that you learn, but it sounds like something that now it's natural, but you've always possessed it. So it seems like you needed like Clubhouse as a way to really pull that out.
Yeah. And I think the difference with how I do it, and I do this with, I think, everything in life, everything to me is a conversation. Nothing is, you know, a speaking engagement rather. So even every day when I'm in those rooms, I'm just having a conversation with our amazing, amazing community that's in there. And I have zero fear of, if someone were to come into my office, you know, the very first thing I'm doing is trying to make them feel comfortable. And that's what I'm trying to do within Clubhouse too. I want everyone to feel like they're a part of that community and feel that I know their story. And any day that you can come up there, if you came into that Clubhouse room, I can tell you exactly what everyone does almost for a living, how long they've been on Clubhouse, how many kids maybe they have, what they do in their real job versus what their podcast is. I really love to know like the people behind that little image in the Clubhouse room. So that's what I love.
Yeah, and you do a very good job with it, because I know when you're in the room, like you do that, you make people feel comfortable. A lot of times people will come up and be like, this is the first time I've ever spoken in a room, and you're very nurturing with that. But I also like that you're reading the profiles of people and looking to see and pulling out like those quick like moments where you can say, oh, hey, so I see you do this, or you're interested in this, or, you know, and I think that's a nice quality to have, rather than just like, okay, next, you know, like it's a nice way to like slow it down. Let the person like kind of get their thoughts together, but also like make them feel like welcomed.
We try to be efficient, but lend everyone the time that they need to get their question answered or their tip shared. So it's a slower moving room, you know, where the people on stage go a little slower, but it's the perfect blend for our community. And again, I just love being a part of it, because Pedro, Roman, and Tanner, they know their stuff. I'm just the mom of the room. You know, that's all I am.
That's funny. I love I love that analogy. That's pretty funny. I never thought about it like that, but now it's pretty funny. So another question I have for you, which is something you did bring up, and I wanted to come back to that, is, and you said you don't like the quality of your voice. However, like I listen to your voice and I say, wow, Amanda has a really great quality to your voice. So you have a very good tone and timbre to your voice that I feel like is like, you sound very in control of your voice and how it's used and the inflections. And on top of that, like I actually thought that you had like voiceover training, or that you were a voiceover artist. Like when I hear it, like that's what I think, like, oh, like the first time I met you, I was like, oh, Amanda, I was looking to see like that you're a voiceover artist. And because being a video producer for 20 years, like I've heard like hundreds of voiceover demos and worked with so many voiceover artists. So hearing you talk on Clubhouse and all that, I'm like, wow, Amanda's got, like, you must be like have this whole like side business where you're cutting 30s and promos and doing all kinds of cool stuff.
No, it's truly, until Clubhouse, I thought I had the worst voice on the planet. And the first time I heard someone say, "You have a really nice voice," I was like, "What do you, me, Amanda?" I really thought they just were tone deaf to some degree. And then it was said to me again and then again, and I just went, "I don't get it, but I'll take it."
Yeah, you have a radio voice, like you really do. Like listening to you, and it's probably another reason why I like coming into the room, because it's a nice, like, I hear in the morning and I'm kind of like, I'm not like 100% like ready to go. I'm like on my second cup of coffee and all that, but then like your voice comes on and it feels so like, oh, this is such a great way. Like your voice is very like, it just has a really great quality to it, which I think goes back to the things that you were saying about how, you know, you want to make people feel welcome and inclusive, and that it's a safe space, and this is a place where they have a voice, and just you have that nurturing quality. But listening to how you do it, like it's a natural ability that you have. But it's once again, I hear it, I'm like, wow, Amanda must have all this like training behind it, and it turns out that you're just an amazingly talented person, like by nature. So
I've got the world fooled. That's all there is. No.
Well,
but you know,
your secret is safe with me.
Thank you. Well, and then everyone else who watches this,
Right.
hopefully plenty of people. No, you know, it's again, until Clubhouse, I didn't know that there was some real estate maybe in my voice. So we'll see what happens from it. But in the meantime, this is true. Clubhouse is like my therapy.
Right.
To get up at 6:30 until 9 or 9:30 when we go it feeds my soul and gets me going for the day. It is my vitamins.
Nice.
So some people might think, wow, I can't believe you do that every single Monday through Friday. But for me, it just pumps me up, like your music in the beginning. I'm like, that's what it was like.
No, that's great. I mean, it's awesome, because I also marvel at how much you do. So you do Clubhouse and you're moderating that in the morning. You're also professionally a realtor, right? And so you're doing that, and you're in residential, correct? Out in Michigan?
Correct.
Right? And so you're doing that. You're also a mother. So let's add that in there.
Yep.
Then you also are a podcast host, a co-host of you. There's 3 women on your podcast, including yourself.
Yep.
Bad
moms in business.
I love that. And we'll talk about that. And then also you are a small business owner of a boutique shop. That sounds, you know, like many people who were starting to get something going in the beginning of 2020, how to like put the brakes on it because of the pandemic. So let's talk a little bit about that. I want to hear a little bit about the shop and like what you are, and it's not like it's over. I mean, you're still planning on opening the shop.
Absolutely.
So talk a bit about the shop and sort of what inspired you to create your boutique.
Well, believe it or not, it's been 2 years in the making, actually longer than that now. And it's called Pressed Rose, which my mom's name is Rose. So it's to basically feature her artwork and her creations that she creates, and to just kind of give my mom a legacy, because she's given to her daughters and myself. I'm her daughter, but, you know, and myself so much that I wanted to give her an identity outside of her girls, because I feel like that's all she ever said is, oh, my identity is always in my girls, you know, not in a bad way in any way, but it just wasn't anything that my mom is. Everything that I am is because of my mom. And I just wanted the world to have a little bit of taste of who Rose was. So that's how Pressed Rose came to be. And believe it or not, I was shocked when that name was available.
Yeah.
Like, what a common term and phrase. And I'm very religious. So I don't mean to go down this route, but I'm very religious. And so I'm like, that's a God thing. Because why else would it be available? PressedRose.com. I got it.
Right. That's amazing, though. I mean, thank God you got that. Because, yeah, it seems like there aren't so many like phrases like that are still available, you know, just floating around out there. So, yeah, that was definitely, that's great that you got a hold of that. So your mother, I take it then, was a very, very creative person.
Extremely so creative. She and her style has changed throughout the years, but she does all sorts of artwork, whether it be pencil. She used to do oil painting. She can create. I could grab a ball of paper that was in the trash and she can create a masterpiece from it. There's nothing my mom can't create. She makes everything turn to gold. She is so powerful in that creation. And she would say, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." Yes, she is. She absolutely is.
So it sounds like your mother was obviously a very big influence then on your creativity and the way you're creating, because you definitely have your own style and things of that. But I would imagine growing up that's something you saw you were very inspired by.
Absolutely. She used to decorate halls for weddings and do decorations for birthdays and graduations. And I would be young and right in tow with her because I love that. And I just loved being with my mom. So it was something that I could do alongside her. And I learned so much from just being with her, doing those kind of tasks. And again, she's why I am who I am today.
That's excellent. So the shop will then basically be essentially like a gallery.
Yeah.
Or like a kind of a combo of like.
I do woodworking as well. So I do refinishing of furniture. I create wood creations on my own. I wood burn. It's so dorky, but I've been doing that since I was like 12 years old.
That's awesome.
Yeah. One of my very first Christmas presents I can remember was like a tool chest that had hammers and screwdrivers and all this kind of wonderful stuff. And I was always messing and tinkering with something. So it just is kind of very therapeutic for me to be able to work with my hands and create creations while it's completely different than my mom's creations.
Right.
But it's still very artistic. And I do some oil painting back in the corner there. That's a picture of my baby that I painted. He's so cute. I even do some oil painting, but my husband always says anytime he sees me painting, he's like, "You going through something?" The oil paints usually come out when I have something I need to get out of myself that I can't necessarily vocalize.
Yeah, but that's amazing because that's a thing that you have this outlet of this where you're able to channel your creativity into like whatever it is that you're feeling. Yeah. So you're able to put this into an outlet and then create something from it. So I think that's absolutely amazing. It's very much like writing a song, like feeling one way and you begin to play an instrument, and before you know it, you've like written a song based on whatever it is that you're feeling or going through like at that moment. And that's why, that's so personal, which is, why art is so personal. It's an expression of where you're at currently. And I think that's great. I mean, it's a very positive way to turn something that, you could be feeling one way or the other, but turn it into channel it into a creative process for yourself.
Absolutely. It cleanses me. And some of the stuff I've painted, people go, "That's kind of dark for you, Amanda." Well, better it ended up in a painting.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Better it ended up in a painting. I love that. That's a great way to say it. Yeah, totally true. It may be, but yeah, it's in the painting now. So
it's in the painting now. It's done. It's done. It's out of me.
Yeah, that's excellent. So let's talk a little bit about the podcast now. So Bad Moms in Business podcast. I love that. So talk about that and when that started and your co-hosts and what people can expect when they go to listen to it. Because I imagine after hearing this interview, everybody's going to be hitting up Bad Moms in Business podcast.
I hope so. We're a riot. So the BAD is our initials, which is Bridget, Amanda, and Danielle. And Danielle's husband, Brandon, I'll give him a plug, came up with that. And at first when I heard it, I was like, that is gross. I am not a bad mom. I'm a good mom. I'm that helicopter mom that does everything right, blah, blah, blah. And so it took a second to really digest, no, that's kind of a play on every mom, especially working mom, feels bad. They're a bad mom for whatever reason. So I warmed up to the bad. And then Danielle and Bridget love their tattoos. So they had this vision in their head that the logo be kind of of a tattoo. You kind of playing off the mom tattoo.
Yep. Which I think is hilarious.
Yeah. I'm like, you guys, I hate the logo because I have no tattoos. I have no tattoos whatsoever. Right. And then I warmed up to the logo, and we've since kind of evolved it to add some bright colors to it. And I'm really hooked on it right now. And there's a fun thing that if we get 1 million followers on any platform, I'll actually get that tattoo. which
look at that
is,
challenge thrown down. I love that.
I know. And I set the 1 million, not that we can't get it, but I didn't want it to be easy. I'm like, no, if I'm going to mark my body up for the first time, it's going to be worth 1 million viewers of some sort. And of course, if I get that tattoo, I got to get one of my baby on me. I'm not going to have one of the bad moms and not my child. So I'll instantly go from 0 to 2.
Yeah. Well, you might as well. I mean, you might as well.
What do we have to lose at that point? I mean, let's do a third. Who cares? So that actually, I think not a lot of people realize we came out of the pandemic. We're a pandemic podcast. We were gathering on Zoom every single Tuesday to stay connected, just to stay sane. And we finally said, man, these conversations would be great recorded. And so we just started hitting the record button. And that's kind of how the Bad Moms in Business came to be. And we formed such a sweet community, very similar to the Clubhouse community that we were speaking of earlier, just a whole different niche of working moms. And it's so special. So the pandemic is awful, but a lot has come through the pandemic that otherwise I would never have started recording a podcast. I probably would have been too busy to try out Clubhouse, where the pandemic paused me enough to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. Yeah.
And you said something really key in there too, because you did mention that a lot of podcasts came out of, I mean, this podcast included was born out of the live stream / podcast was born out of the pandemic. And being on Clubhouse and hearing, the people that come in a room, and so many people, it's actually like completely fascinating to me how many people have begun either starting podcasts or have had podcasts since last year, and their evolution in it. And it's an explosion of creativity, which once again, it's what you said, what you do, like you're feeling a certain way, you go and you paint. And I love that if there has been any silver lining or any positive thing that come out of all this is the fact that people have tapped into like a creative version of themselves that maybe they didn't know was there or haven't used in a while, or just inspired them to start doing things that they hadn't done before. I mean, I hear so many people come on and hear their story about like, I've never done this before, or I just bought my first mic and I just did this, and but I want to do this. I want to tell these stories because, it's important, and they're just so inspired to do something and talk and tell stories or share their own experiences to help others, which came out of a lot of that. You hear it over and over again. Well, this happened, and now I'm like, well, I'm going to do this to help others. And it's fascinating to me how that's happened.
And whether your podcast, for any of those that are listening, is just for therapy to get you through a season, do it. Or if it's intended to be a business that you can make a viable business and truly make some good income from, do it too. I mean, there's no set in stone way to podcast. It can look like anything.
Yep. Well said, because that's a lot of what people will say a lot of times is like, well, I want to start podcasting, but I don't have all the right equipment. And I go, listen, like if you want to just start podcasting just to do it, then like you can use your phone, honestly. Like if you want to do that, or, use your phone and just buy a mic. You could buy a wireless mic that plugs into your phone, and you could just record away, and you got a podcast, and your podcast could be 5 to 10 minutes long of just you talking about a topic and send it out to everybody. And then it could have, and then if you like it, you can evolve and then begin to say, well, I want to do interviews and I want to have guests and I do want to get a nicer mic. Like you don't have to like go all in. Like I listen to the people that come in the room, and especially, the guys like Pedro and Tanner and Roman, like their gear and the boards and all that. And like, I don't have a board. I literally have my mic and I go directly into my computer right now. But I'm ready. Like I'm now, like I've heard so many things that like now I want to get a board because I want to take my podcasting to another level of just professionalism. And that's a choice, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to do any of that.
If this year has taught us nothing else, there's a lot of grace in broadcasting, right? I mean, high-end shows have mediocre quality right now. So if they can get the grace and get by with that, we certainly can do the same. And yes, as things level up and even out, we're going to have to level up like you're saying, but it's probably not going to be out of necessity. It'll be out of desire. Like, hey, I want more toys to play with.
Right. Really, that's what it comes down to, because I think naturally you just want to get better at what you're doing. And I always tell people, don't let technology be the reason why you decide not to be creative. Like, I can't paint for anything, and but I could pick up my guitar, I could play, I can do this, I can go play around in Canva for a little bit. I have all these other like outlets to be creative. I can make a quick video on something. Like, those are sort of my outlets to do things. And sometimes, I don't want to set up everything. I just want to do it on my phone. I just want to get it out, and that's okay. Like, and that's coming from a video background of 20 years. Like,
exactly. And what's exciting is I can't wait for the moment that I can hook something up to my phone and do some podcasting in the field out there again, because maybe we went off on lunch together and now we're doing a mini podcast or episode just based on location. And I have my mini equipment that can do that. I can't wait for that day.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. Yeah, because like you were saying, how you were getting together with your co-hosts, it's like you get into this conversation like, man, I really wish we were able to record this, because what we just talked about would actually be so valuable for other people to hear. And if those people are 5 other people, then great. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I don't have an audience of 100,000 people or anything like that. It's like, well, if you're in business and it's more of a business-minded podcast, well, then you have your clients, you have your relationships, people like that. If it's something along the lines of something more hobbyish in nature because you're a big Star Wars fan or something like that, well, you know what? There's 1,000 Star Wars podcasts out there, but don't let that be the reason why you don't go do a Star Wars podcast, because maybe what you have to say is more interesting to me. Your take on it is interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, how many mom podcasts are there out there?
Right.
A ton. Not another one that has Bridget, Amanda, and Danielle. We're obnoxious.
Right.
We're obnoxious.
Yeah. I mean, nobody has that. So it's like, it's your unique set of experiences and stories that make you different from those, just like those make, what they do is different from you. And so, that I think is the thing that I always love telling people, is don't let these things like be the thing that keeps you from doing that. If like you really want to do it, just go do it. That's it. Like, do it. Get it out of your system. And maybe you only need to do it once, or maybe you find, hey, I really enjoy this, and it becomes something that you want to keep at regularly.
And if you don't have the ability to do it, but you need to get your story out there, there's a lot of podcasters who are looking for guests.
That's another great point. That is another great point.
And your story can be honored just from the guest standpoint. So if you feel that you have a message to share, just seek that person that would be interested in that message, and you can get it out there. And if it just affects and helps one person, then it was worth it.
Yeah, an amazing message, because I forget about that sometimes, that like being a guest and the power of being a guest and sharing a story or unique experience that may relate to that show. And I think that's a really wonderful thing for people to realize, is that, yes, we were just talking about, there's an explosion of podcasts, and people need guests to come on if they're doing an interview-based show. And there's pretty much a podcast for everything at this point. I mean, all you have to do is type in a search and you'll see a podcast on even a most specific, like, niche thing. There's a podcast for it.
And, I hate to like always reference Clubhouse, but if you want to be a guest, get on Clubhouse and start getting into some of the rooms that you are well-spoken in or well-versed in, and go in there and start making those connections, because I'm sure that's where somebody will need you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. On Fridays, you're part of that with the pod tag, but that's great. I mean, that's actually, I've been able to connect with a lot of people through that pod tag room and find guests, and be a guest too, as on top of that. So I think that's another reason why, like, if you are hesitant about being on Clubhouse, but if you just use it for this one thing, is to like get on Clubhouse, meet some people, get into that room and say, hey, I'd love to be a guest on your podcast, and this is what I can talk about. You will find somebody in that room, because it's like, there's so many people doing all these different podcasts. It's unreal to me.
It is unreal. And I think prior to Clubhouse, I can't only imagine how hard it was to find a guest. if you need a guest, if you were a guest-based podcast, I just can't even imagine the extra effort you had to go through to vetting your people. It's where on Clubhouse, you instantly know if you have a connection with them or not, almost.
Yeah.
Or they can't really fake out what they know and what they don't know long term.
Right.
They might
Exactly.
be good once, but if they come back like 2 or 3 times, you're realizing, oh, this room is not the room of professionals anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, Pedro, check it in.
You know what? I'm just going to be honest. If I end up with voiceover work or whatever you say, Chris, because again, I thought my voice was hideous previously.
Lois said you have a great voice.
That's so sweet. Thank you, Lois. Thank you, Pedro. But if I somehow end up going down the rabbit hole of voice work or just whatever the doors may open because of it, it's all because of Pedro, because he let me have that seat at the table in his podcasting morning chat. So it's all because of him. Got to give him that shout out. Give him credit where credit's due.
Credit where credit's due. I love it. So there's a few more things I want to talk to you, because I feel like you and I could talk forever. Like,
for sure. It's already been like 38 minutes. Oh my goodness.
I know. But it's okay. We're getting there. So I do have the website up here. So AmandaAnnSharp.com.
Yes.
There's no E in the Ann. It's ANN and then Sharp with no E as well. So it's a new site that's being launched like any second, basically, right? I mean, this is like so hot off the presses.
Yeah, so I'll reference my what you're going to see currently is Amanda pre-Clubhouse, and then the one that's going to be coming from that is post-Club, literally because James Scott, one of our sweet community members for the podcasting morning chat, he has a guy, of course. Everyone has a guy or a gal.
Everybody's got a guy.
Everyone's got a guy or gal, and that does websites. And I hired his buddy, and he absolutely has facelifted my website to something I'm proud of. Like the other one looks like a 12-year-old made it. This one looks like a grown person who knows what they're doing made it. So go easy on me if you look at it and you see lemons. That's pre-Clubhouse. Come back to see the leather couch. That's post Clubhouse.
Right. Well, everybody has the demo tape. Everybody has their first demo, and then the real record comes out. So
absolutely. And I will post this on a blog on that said website as soon as I can.
Excellent. So the website, once it gets updated, which is happening any second, what is this a portal to? Is this a portal to the website? Is this into the boutique shop? Like, what is the AmandaAnnSharp.com world?
So, right, the Amanda Ann Sharp world is the direct connection to Amanda Sharp. I wanted a place that people can come directly to and feel like they can get a taste of who I am, but also connect with me, maybe off social media as well, because if Clubhouse has taught us one thing, those authentic relationships and collaborations are so powerful. And I just don't think you get that on, and I'm not knocking Facebook or anything like that, but it's very short scription, where, someone might just say, nice post.
Right.
Clubhouse, why did you think it was nice? There's just dialogue. So that's going to be my home for many things. So because of Clubhouse, there's going to be some other things that I probably will start adding. Like maybe I do add a tab for speaking. Maybe I'm not sure. So because I keep getting told I'm a fun MC. So is professional MC a thing? Maybe
it is. It 100% is.
Well, and I'm trying to convince Pedro, Roman, and Tanner that they need to have a summit. And I'm like, they don't know it yet, but obviously I'd have to be the MC to it.
Yeah, I want to be at the summit.
1 ticket sold. Pedro, is it a go?
Sold. I'm prepaying now.
Good. Yeah, the world has to come together again before that could happen. But yeah. I have it in my head. I hope they can see it in theirs. So that website is just going to be a place to be able to truly reach out to me unfiltered by social media or anything else like that. I eventually will hopefully have a shop where I can throw some of my sunshine products in there that I create. And maybe because I'm like a pencil nerd, like maybe throw some sunshiny pencils on there, just stuff that makes me happy that might make others happy. So I'm navigating that fully, full disclosure there, but it's definitely the place that I want to call home in this world of so many options.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah. And I love it. I'm anxious to see the new site when it's up, which should be like probably by the time this interview is over.
I've bragged it up so much. It was something that was really important to me because my reach has now went so global because of Clubhouse.
It's very true.
I've put the world clocks on there because I thought that was really fun to do. It's just a great way to say hey, no matter where you're from, you're welcomed here.
Yeah, I think that is a really great way of looking at it, because I love coming into the room and it's you've got people who are from Australia and are like, I'm getting ready to go to bed or do dinner. And it's we're all just getting up and it's
so this is the power of Clubhouse and the relationships that people make. And I'm so sorry to go off script here, but there's no script on this.
There's no script. Come on. This is Rocket Live. This is Rocket
Live. So I just went to the post office before hopping on after doing our podcast because I needed to see Sunshine Stationery coming soon. Yeah. I had to see because there was Peeps talk right before Easter. You were part of that conversation, or heard it at least, and it was obnoxious. You talk about a debatable, controversial subject. You bring Peeps up in a room full of grown adults. They have thoughts. Yeah. But Carrie, our good Australian friend, had never had a Peep. She's never had a Twinkie. So prior to our recording today, I'm at the post office. So what are the rules and the legal ramifications of sending food to Australia? What does that look like? And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I need to send Twinkies and Peeps. And I was naming the other things I wanted to send. And she's like, well, let me look. And she's going through her list. She's like, no seeds, no this, no that. Doesn't say no Peeps or no Twinkies. I'm like, they're coming to you, Carrie.
There you go.
$80 to send it, but I'm sending it to Carrie.
Well, the good thing is, it won't go bad. So that's never going bad.
Never going bad. She can literally get it next year, 2022, and it's still good.
It'll still be just as fresh as it was the day it rolled out of the factory. Amazing.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, it's great. It's a great story. So two other things I want to just touch on before we wrap up. One is your love of the color yellow. It's very, it's your personal brand, right? It's 100% your personal brand. It's on your picture. You wear it. It's everywhere. So what is the story with the color yellow in you?
Do you know, it probably didn't start. It was probably 2.5 years ago actually 2 years ago that I fell in love with it. And it just was, the world got a little dark and that color just showed itself. And from then on, that just kind of was my brand. It was my grounding, my go back to, my placement, my home that, no matter what life threw at me, if you look at the color yellow, it typically doesn't spark anything but joy. It's kind of defaulted in us to think of yellow as a happy color. So it just kind of became part of me because I used to be a pink girl all day long. And then, I'm almost at 40 and I'm like, a little change up is not bad. So I'd love to have said I would have always loved the color yellow. I liked the color yellow, but I really understood, I think, and it might sound silly to people who are listening, I understood what the color yellow stood for within the last couple of years. And from that, it's just kind of a staple in my world. Sounds silly. But
it's not silly. It's great. It's part of who you are, and it has meaning, and it means something to you. It's attached to your values, and it's very good. It's great. That's what personal branding is.
And I'm default a happy person,
right?
But I want to add that does not mean my life has not had problems. And I haven't seen darkness. So just because I can slap a smile on my face doesn't mean that I'm not navigating through my own troubles behind the scenes. I always feel like it's important that I say that because some people have it all together. Like, oh, no. We all struggle. We just work through it differently.
Well said. Absolutely. Because everybody deals with life in their own way, and it's how you deal with it is what,
Mhm.
ultimately is what is how you get through it, and
Yep,
everybody has their own way of dealing with the things that life is going to throw us. So, yeah.
absolutely.
And so I think that it's a great attitude to have. Absolutely.
So I want everyone to find their yellow, whatever that yellow is to them.
I love that.
That'll
That's
be their
great.
anchor.
Nice. So one last question before we say goodbye to everybody who's been hanging in there. I
Before
want to
we
thank
say
everybody for
goodbye.
listening. So one of the most important questions I could probably ask you for the day, like this is like earth shattering stuff
Oh
here.
my gosh, let me hang
Okay.
on to the table here.
So I know that you're a big coffee drinker.
Oh,
How do you take your coffee?
completely neutral with nothing in it.
All right.
Nothing in it. And let me tell you, I'm not a coffee, was it concierge or whatever they call it? What's that word? You know what I'm saying
Coffee.
now?
Yeah, like a barista or like
Yeah,
expert.
yeah.
Like,
No, no, no. Like I can drink the worst of cups or the best of cups. I just love coffee. And I think it's for me, I love the conversation that starts when I have a cup of coffee in my hand. So it has nothing to do with what's inside the cup. It's
right.
what's come because of the coffee, if that makes
Nice. It totally makes sense. Do you have like a favorite brand? Like, what is your like go-to like staple? It's just kind of like.
sense. The Kroger, because it's cheap. It's bottom shelf coffee. It's bottom shelf coffee.
But it's not
4.99.
it's not you don't drink instant coffee though. Like you're
No,
not
no,
you're not instant
no,
coffee crystals.
no.
Okay. We
Listen,
don't
I
we
have
don't
a
you don't go you don't slum it that low.
no, no. I have a bun, so by the time I could do an instant cup, my bun, a whole pot of it can be done, and I drink a whole pot a day. This
Right.
girl loves her coffee consumption. Oh, so
Nice.
good.
Are you a French press girl? Have you done the French
No,
press? Is
so
you
my husband is though,
okay?
and so like it's quite a science. I'll be honest, sometimes coffee can be too strong for me. See, Pedro is well versed.
Connoisseur.
Pedro knows it all.
Coffee connoisseur.
See, I can't even pronounce it correctly. See, that's my trick. I just use the word, I don't use words that I don't know how to say often. I just have a whole vocabulary that I'm confident behind.
That's a great way of looking at it. I love that.
That's it. That's it. Now, my husband's coffee when he makes it, because he would rather have a nice cup than any cup. So he would just not drink it if it's not going to be good. Where I'm like, watered down, cold, whatever. So I have had it with his, but it's so strong. It gives me like the shakes. I
Yeah.
don't need to get hyped up anymore, Chris.
Yeah, French press is definitely you're getting a nice, strong brewed cup of coffee. Like you're getting potency.
Yeah, like I've heard make hair grow on your chest. Like I don't want hair on my chest. And if anything can do that, that coffee can do it.
Yeah, my wife and I we're big coffee junkies for sure. Like we have to have and I'm bad. I go back and forth between having I'm usually like 3 to 4 cups before noon.
Yes.
And then I'm good. But I do will have my afternoon cup. Mm-hmm. And I was creeping back into a nighttime cup, but I've stopped again because the nighttime cup is first it's oh, this doesn't do anything to me, but I found it catching up and I was like, I'm not sleeping right. And it's because of that I'm having that 7 to 8 o'clock cup of coffee.
Do you know I could drink a cup of coffee and then 2 seconds later I could fall asleep on the couch.
I used to be like that, but I feel that when I do it too much in a row, it builds up in my system or something.
It waits to get you on one day.
Yeah, it's all of a sudden it's you're not sleeping. You have so much coffee in your system. You drank it late. Haha. You're not sleeping tonight. So that's kind of how it feels.
I know. When I was pregnant with Owen, I would make a pot of coffee still because you're not supposed to drink a pot, but I would only use the same amount of coffee I would use in the recommended amount for a pregnant woman. So right. I still, in my head, I was like, I'm drinking my pot of coffee. It was like drinking tea. You could see through it, but I still was drinking my pot of coffee even when I was pregnant. It just was watered down.
Yeah, you just water it down. That's all. I mean, once again, you think about what our parents were doing, when they had us. And let me tell you, they weren't shying away from coffee.
I mean, have you watched Mad Men?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, come on. How any of us are now functioning human beings.
Right.
I'm shocked.
So listen, I'm all for like making adjustments as we learn maybe it's not a good idea to drink this when you're carrying
while you're smoking.
Yeah. But
I love Mad Men.
Yeah, me too. We turned out all right though.
Yeah.
We got through it. Well, I can't believe we reached the end here. I feel like we can keep going and going and going, but here we are. I want to thank everybody so much for watching today. I really want to thank Amanda. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This was so much fun, and I want to do this again for sure. Have you back on, and we'll talk about some other stuff. Talk more about coffee.
Coffee, more about the club. Just really quickly, I'm the prude. Anyone who comes into the podcasting morning chat knows that I call myself a prude all of the time. And so I've never really been to a club. So the joke between my husband and I is like, how long were you in the club today? Just because that's the only cool place I've ever been in my life that I can say I've been to the club for 5 hours today.
Oh, there you go.
Boom.
I was clubbing.
For
like
clubbing.
5 hours.
Yes, I'm hardcore clubbing.
I'm hardcore clubbing. There you go.
Maybe that'll be one of my shirts that I could eventually put in my shop.
You should absolutely do that. Hardcore clubbing. Hardcore clubbing with Amanda Sharp.
With the Clubhouse icon.
With the Clubhouse icon and a sun that's all happy.
I can't. Oh my gosh. Your viewers are like, who did you interview today, Chris?
Oh, believe me, they're used to this. No, this is great though. I really appreciate you coming on. This was a ton of fun. Thanks for
I appreciate the opportunity. This was a blast. Such a blast. And this is only the second interview I've ever done.
Oh, really? Wow. So once again, something else I thought you would have done like tons of. So I'm like way off on everything. Like, oh, she's a trained voiceover artist. She's obviously like a skilled moderator and all this stuff. And it's just like, nope, she's just
your version of me is way cooler.
She's just naturally like just a rock star, like in hiding.
Hostess with the mostest, Pedro. He's such a good friend. I just adore Pedro. Awesome. Everyone adores Pedro.
He is awesome. He is awesome for sure.
I love it.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Amanda, for coming on. Make sure you visit Amanda on her website at amandaannsharp.com. This will be in the show notes. You'll be able to click on it when you go to watch this or in the comments above. Also, make sure you check out the Bad Moms in Business podcast, which can be listened to anywhere, right, Amanda?
Anywhere. We put it on Facebook, everywhere. It's oh gosh, we're obnoxious. Be prepared.
Be prepared for some bad moms in obnoxious business.
Exactly.
No, it's amazing. It's great. So yeah, make sure you go check those out, support that. And also please feel free to share this episode and hit that subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube, because that always helps the channel grow. And once again, really appreciate everybody for jumping on today, watching live. And thank you for those that will be watching the replay later on, and for everybody that will be listening to the audio version. That wraps it up for us. We'll see you next week for another edition of Rocket Live. And remember, always be authentic, be yourself, and always remember to rock it. Yeah.